Yesterday I mentioned claret, so here's a quote from Samuel Johnson. Claret is for boys, port is for men, but those who aspire to be a hero must drink brandy. Bonjour, my name is David DeVere. I'm a wine educator and traveler, and you're watching Savvy Nomad TV, the Eau de Vie edition. This is day 5 of the Costco Wine Adventure box. We're doing these 24 days in December, the first 24. And here is day number 5. And 5 is up here in the corner. Screw cap. Romanian Sauvignon Blanc. Okay, I've know Sauvignon Blanc well, but from Romania, no, never have. Okay, I need to get the ice bucket. Ice bucket, wine, and 4 minutes. So that gives me 4 minutes or so to talk about Romania and Sauvignon Blanc. Now, Romania is an old country. They've been making wine for many, many centuries. The Romans added Romania to their empire at some point. And, you've got Romania, Bulgaria, Ukraine, Moldova, all these Iron Curtain countries, if we go back to an old Cold War term, are wine producing, and the Soviets encouraged that. In fact, that's where most of the wine that the Soviet Union used to consume came from. But after the fall of the Iron Curtain and the economic hard times that fell without price controls, the Romanian wine industry suffered, but then it picked back up again with EU membership. They are not exporting wine. In fact, they're a net importer of bulk wine, mostly from Spain and Italy, and then they produce that into wine that is consumed domestically. They do have their own indigenous varietals. We do not have one here. Sauvignon Blanc is a international varietal. It's a variety from France. But because it is a noble grape, an international grape, it will express itself differently in different parts of the world. So Sauvignon Blanc from the Loire River Valley, which is where its ancestral homeland is, tastes different than Sauvignon Blanc from New Zealand. So we should find something interesting here from the Romanian expression. Will it still be Sauvignon Blanc? Yes, but how will it be a little bit unique or different, or even at all different? Sauvignon Blanc should be citrusy, lemony, high acid, bright. It could be herbal. It could have all these things popping off in your mouth. It should be a refreshing wine, and it is perfect for summertime. All right, I'm gonna pop open the bottle. Let's give it a taste. Okay, so I have filled out the top of my tasting card. There is a link in the description to a blank version of the tasting card that you can download and print out at home and use for these little wine lessons, or you can purchase my Notes Devant tasting journal, link to the Amazon page so you can buy that. Now, I wanted to show you my journal because I've been getting the labels off. I got the label off day number 3 last night, and doesn't that look great? I mean, here's the tasting without the label. Here's the tasting with the label. I think saving the label just makes the whole tasting note look so much more interesting. So there's Les Champs d'Or, the Fields of Gold, and then here is our red blend, Let Good Be. So very nice and interesting to add those to it. I hope I can continue to get the labels off. All right, filled out the top of my tasting card. That's ready to go. Let's get the wine opened up. You might think, hey, it's got a screw cap. People used to consider that screw caps were only on low quality bulk wines, and that used to be true, but it isn't necessarily true anymore. Screw caps are often found on fruit-forward young wines, and the reason the screw cap is more preferential to a cork is because a cork allows for a little bit of oxygen exchange in the wine, allowing the wine to decay, rot, or as is more appropriate term, mature slightly, and the screw cap doesn't allow that. So if you want to preserve freshness, brightness, fruit flavors in your wine, and you don't want those mature wine notes like you would get in an older wine that has a cork, then screw caps are completely appropriate. They also make it really easy to open because, et voila. So there's our screw cap. Now let's pour it up, taste it up, score it up. Using the blank spot on my card here, I'm going to look at the color. And Sauvignon Blanc could sometimes be slightly greenish. This is pale yellow gold. It's pretty, it's nice. It doesn't have any color, discoloration, nothing cloudy or floating in it. And so I'm going to mark that color as the spot between green and straw. By the way, I had a friend recently say to me, well, I did learn about legs. And I said, what did you learn? And he was speaking specifically about whiskey. And he said, well, the more the legs, the higher the alcohol content. And I'm like, well, that's not necessarily true. And legs are not an indication of quality. Legs are the drips coming down the side of a glass. And really all they indicate is viscosity. The higher the alcohol, the lower the alcohol has nothing to do with how much drips you get down the side of a glass. They are going to drip just depending on how much viscosity you have in the wine. So it's an indication of body. Thicker, bigger bodied wines are going to have more drips, and thinner wines will have less drips. I mean, that's it. And when you're thinking about whiskey, that's 40% alcohol anyway. So would it be drippier? Well, again, if it's blended with something else, like maybe it's made into a liqueur, then yeah, it would be really big and thick bodied. But anyway, legs, you could just ignore them. They don't indicate anything about quality. Okay, let's get to smelling. I can smell the coolness in the glass. It smells a little bit sweet. It's got a little bit of honey maybe in there. I can pick up a little note of lemon or lime or citrusy. There's maybe a little bit of tropical fruit because they've got that sweet nose to it. Okay, so without thinking too much about it, let's just work our way around. Grab my eyeglasses. We'll work our way around our chart. Citrus, yeah, noticeable. I'll go pronounced. Berries, no, I don't really get sweet berries there. Orchard fruits, maybe very slight. Tropical, actually I am getting some tropical fruits. I'll put that there. Flowers. I mean, yeah, I guess I could be convinced there's some flowers in there. Vegetable and herb, not really. Roasted, nope. Earthy, nope. False, nope. Okay, so now we'll taste it. Dry or sweet? So it's going to be dry. So it's low sweetness. Acidity. You can always measure the acidity of a wine by that watering mouth effect. The acidity makes you salivate. That sounds gross, but it's got a purpose. Wine, when eaten with meals, is often thought as a pre-digestive, something to get the digestive juices going. Well, salivation is the first juice that you get to use to digest your food. So it doesn't make you salivate. This does. So I'm going to go up here to one of the outside dots. Tannins, there's no tannins in white wines, so you can always put low there. Do I notice the alcohol? This is 13%. Not really. I don't really notice it. So I'm going to say slight. I'll come back to preference. Body. Let's taste it again. It's kind of a medium-bodied Sauvignon Blanc. I would have expected it to be a little bit lighter. So I'll put a dot somewhere in the middle. Balance, this is the play between sugars, alcohols, and acidity. Where's the balance? It's okay. It's got, I'll come to that in a minute, but it's okay. It's not perfect, and I'll tell you why when we get there. Complexity, do I get any additional flavors or aromas? Not really. Slightly complex. And now finish. I get a funky finish out of this. Almost a metallic-y, weird finish. I can't say it's adding to the sensation. I could say it's detracting from it. Let me taste it again. It could have been just that first initial taste because I hadn't tasted any wine yet. But nah, the finish is just not good. It's weak. It's a little bit funky. It's a little bit metallic. It definitely has a finish, but it's not particularly nice. So the flavor profile wheel creates an interesting concept here because we're just noticing whether or not these things are present. So the finish is present in an intense way. Okay, so I'll mark that, and then I'll mark my preference, which is slight. I'm a big fan of Sauvignon Blanc. I'm not necessarily a huge fan of this one. All right, let's go off to scoring. Appearance, 3 points because it looks good. The bouquet is nice. It's aromatic. There's nothing wrong with it. It's not overly intense and really interesting like I would classify other Sauvignon Blancs. And since this is Sauvignon Blancs with all the others in the world ever considered, I have to consider that when I score the bouquet. I'm not scoring my aromas and bouquet of this Sauvignon Blanc with yesterday's wine. Yesterday's wine lives in its own bubble. This lives in the Sauvignon Blanc bubble. So I'm going to give it a 3 as a medium aromatic Sauvignon Blanc. The taste, I'll be generous and go 4. The finish, 1 point. And the impression, 1 point. Okay, I'm going to go make my shape, do up my math. I'll be back. Okay, so here is my final score for our Romanian Sauvignon Blanc. I gave it a total of 12 points, which is just on the edge of good and commercially okay. Maybe I was slightly generous in the scoring. I mean, the range is 0 to 3 or something. I didn't give it a 0 for finish. That just felt too harsh. Anyway, 12 points. Yeah, commercially okay. This is like a $6 bottle of Sauvignon Blanc at the store, and I really wouldn't want to pay terribly much more than that. Here is my flavor profile. Again, I think these things are interesting. You can see how different it is from previous days. Go back and look at our red Cabernet Sauvignon from day one to see the comparison. Sauvignon Blancs range in lots of prices, but I want to tell you this one shopping note. You need to buy the youngest Sauvignon Blancs you can find. Don't fall for the adage that an old Sauvignon Blanc is better, because they're not. They are fruit forward, bright, fresh wines that should be consumed young. And when they're consumed old, what happens is they lose that brightness, that freshness, and that fruit, and they become more bland. Also, older wines are often higher priced just because people think old is better, and it isn't always better. Okay, that's all I've got for you today. I'll be back tomorrow with our day 6 wine. I hope you have enjoyed this episode. If you have, please give me a thumbs up. If you're new here, please consider subscribing. And until tomorrow, I say à tout à l'heure and cheers.
Hi. Okay, Sauv Blanc. Well, that almost looks a tiny bit rosy. Smells very grapefruity. Okay, here we go. It's a little bit thicker than I thought it would be. I like it. High acid, kind of fruity. I did just brush my teeth, so that's kind of a detractor, but not the wine's fault. Overall, I think it'll be enjoyable. Cheers!